Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Chris and Andre Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Big Rant portion of the Chris and Andre Show. This is where we go off on a tangent on a particular topic. Usually it's something in the news, something we're really passionate about, something that just kind of strikes our fancy. This week, it's a tragic story, the mass shooting in Buffalo. We don't always cover the really heavy or really popular news stories, whatever's going on big, but this is one of those things that I think we just really can't stand to overlook at this point. There's been a ton of information that's already come out about the shooter himself and his motivations. I think first and foremost, we certainly, have our sympathies or our feelings specifically for the families of the people who lost their lives. And really, it's just more senseless violence in this country. And it's one of those things that's getting really hard to turn on the news and see on a regular basis. The fact that it was very clearly racially motivated, I think, just adds another layer to it. But I don't know. I'll let you guys kind of dig in first. What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
A lot of the dialogue in the country has been in the past that we don't have a quote unquote race problem in the country. I still struggle to find that to be true. We have this sense that our young people are going to be a sense and or a light of hope to kind of end some of this. Again, I'm struggling to find that to be true. We have politicians that pander for votes on both sides and do nothing. And they want us to trust and believe them. I find that hard to be true. I do not like the phrase, the term, the belief, the idea of thoughts and prayers. I think that's ridiculous. Without faith without action is nothing, and that's a paraphrase from the Bible. So, just like you can't hide behind things anymore, America. You're lazy, you're racist, and we've decided that, some of us don't count in this country. Sandy Hook, Parkland, you name it. The most vulnerable in this country have become the target for way too many years. And there's no action. That's how I feel about it. I feel, and then the complexity of adding ethnicity to it is that much more disheartening. Because what's interesting to me when I look at all the press coverage, you hear this guy attacked a supermarket because of the demographic of the customers, but we don't have the same response that we may have had even in Parkland if you look back at some of the news coverage there. And I get really I'm trying to figure out how far to pull the thread, but it's honestly not that hard to see that we cover these stories a lot differently depending on which zip code the atrocities happen in. So yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. You talked a little bit about the dialogue, right? That's been going on in this country for a long time now, and this belief, especially recently, this push that if we just don't acknowledge racism, if we don't talk about it, it'll just go away. That we're not a racist country, that systemic racism doesn't exist, that racism isn't baked into the news coverage. It's not baked into the way that our laws are enforced and executed. It's not baked into our response to these things. And yet, time after time, we see just staggering proof of the exact opposite. And people who should look in the mirror and feel some level of responsibility for these things because of the actions that they've taken, the decisions they've made, the things that they promote on the platforms that they have, shrug it off. Because ultimately it doesn't affect them directly.
Or we can actually, we've gotten to this point where we can pivot real quickly. This kid's got mental health issues. Well, America, I really don't give a crap about his mental health issues. I think that the fact that we continue to romanticize and make mental health a common commodity that everybody should, have access to, and blah, 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 and everybody's got their own, some end of the spectrum or not. There's no accountability. We are resigning our ability to take accountability for the actions we take. That is not to say that people cannot have struggles or issues in their life. But when we, as a society, give people the agency to, not be accountable, that says something about our society.
It's not my fault.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it sounds like they're giving too many easy outs.
Yeah, it's an easy out.
It's because I have this syndrome.
So here's the question I would ask. So George Floyd gets killed for $20, a fake 20.
Yep.
This kid again, another kid walks off. You have the kid that shot the people in, gosh, I can't. It's so many things they blur together.
Yeah.
He takes his
during the protest. Yeah.
During a protest, he walks off with the cops. Everything's lovely. This kid walks off with the cops. Everything's lovely. George Floyd, just died on purpose for nothing. Breonna Taylor died for nothing.
Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin.
This isn't new even, right? This has been going on and on and on. And that's where, you were just talking about, our politicians on both sides pander for votes and then do absolutely nothing. We talked last week or the week before about Roe v. Wade and how, now Democrats want to put forth a bill to try to ram it through the Senate, knowing full well that they don't have the votes, that it's just for show.
It's a symbolic vote.
Yeah, and who fucking cares?
I don't fucking care. Take your fucking thoughts and prayers. Take your fucking bullshit, symbolic bills and votes. People aren't asking for that. This is not a right or left thing. This is a right or wrong thing.
And people talk about freedom in this country. The freedom to own guns, the freedom to do whatever you want. Shouldn't we have the freedom to go to a grocery store in our own neighborhood and not
get shot by some random white person?
Yeah.
And let me back up. There's a guy in Philly. I want to say it was Philly. Not the same atrocity, but he was walked off of the cops too. So I don't want to make this a black versus white thing. I want to be honest. If we're talking about Second Amendment, I think we need to pull the gun shit back. I'm just being honest. I think we don't have the capability as a society to manage guns. And I'm going to tie us back into Roe versus Wade. I heard an interesting point about Scandinavian laws on abortion, right? Mm-hmm. And people were comparing the abortion laws that we're trying to curb and pass in the States to Scandinavia. The one thing they failed to realize is that the economic situation of most citizens in Norway, Sweden, is a lot different than what it here is in the States.
Yeah.
Right. So let's compare apples and apples, not apples and oranges. We talk about policing in Europe versus the States. Let's be honest. In Europe, most places it takes 3 years to become a police officer, not 6 months, as in the States.
Not just that, but the philosophy behind it is completely different.
Yeah.
Right. So
what you're actually supposed to do.
Or they're actually the mindset of serving the public, less so policing.
Yeah, policing and serving, it's a contradiction just to have a contradiction. I'm tired of, and this is me. Now I have to worry about going to the grocery store. And I'm being honest. That was a thought. When the news broke, I read headlines and I was like, the grocery store too? You know?
Can't go to church, can't go to the grocery store, can't go to the park. You can barely stay in your own home without feeling...
Can't
I
drive
heard
a
a
car.
lady-
I mean, like,
Yeah, I heard a lady say we're getting hunted as a people. And I'm not one to sit around and focus on my ethnicity, but for everything holy, you're making it kind of hard not to wonder, like, what's safe and what's not safe.
But let's not
So
talk
the-
about race, right? If we
So
don't
this
talk
kid
about it,
in,
it'll just go away.
This kid in the Buffalo shooting recently, he wrote a 180-page manifesto, which blew me away because I can't even find any. I don't think I've ever met anyone.
It was a
his age
lot of it
who
was
can
copy
write.
and pasted from something else. So just to be clear,
But yeah, but still, that's more work than I thought somebody his age would put into actual, justifying his actions. But what was I'm trying to remember? He was claiming that white people were the target.
The great
of,
replacement theory.
There it is. Yeah, I'm like, what circles are speaking about government like controlling everything, but where are these circles of people passing these ideas around?
Fox
it's
News.
right in front of your face. It's on Fox News. It's actually, if we're not paying attention to legislation that's being passed, it is a way for right. Or I don't like the right-left argument, but
Yeah.
it's a way for GOP to instill a sense of fear and loss in a group of people that are not getting served by the same people they're voting for, which is insane. I don't understand how they're not wise enough to realize that they're causing a reaction. They're giving you a stimulus, and you decide your reaction. And that is the outcome that we get. And it varies on the spectrum. January 6th, mass shootings. But I want to be fair, specifically for Buffalo, that you're indoctrinating people. And this is the party that is talking about, I'm an independent thinker, or I believe in, freedom of this and freedom of that. Well, you don't have the freedom to fucking terrorize people because you are afraid and you're unwilling to change, not because you have to, because your environment around you is changing. You're the same fucking people that think coal is coming back.
It's the same people who complain about the calls or people pointing out white privilege, but at the same time are terrified of not having that white privilege.
Yeah.
It's like,
don't call me racist, because
yeah.
this is
But
just
I
how
don't
it
want
is.
anybody who isn't white in charge. I still,
Right.
yeah, it's.
And I'm not trying to bash like white people. I'm just not.
No.
My wife always says it comes across like I'm bashing white people. I'm not. I don't have beef with white people. I'm just saying, like, can we not talk about the issue that we're having is that we don't talk about what's actually happening. Like, we refuse to address the problem. And everybody's like, "Oh, I'm sorry it happened. It's a travesty. The president's going there to grieve with people." Man, that does absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
No offense to this current president, but the contrast between good people on both sides and I'm going to go and grieve, in the convergences, nothing happens after the fact. So if there's good people on both sides, what do you do about the tragedy? Trump, nothing. If there is grief and loss and devastation, what do you do about that, Mr. Biden? Nothing. So both parties have no answer because it's not important to them. Parkland wasn't important to them. Sandy Hook wasn't important to them. That goes back to President Obama. Buffalo's not. I mean, you can go across the gambit of incident after incident after incident with shootings, and we're only talking about shootings and not even a race.
Yep.
And it's not important.
But let's all race to pass legislation to extend security to the Supreme Court justices' families.
Because that's important. And members of Congress. Because
there were people
important.
without guns outside their houses chanting, "My body, my choice." That's terrifying. I mean, if I had people standing outside my house chanting "My body, my choice,"
the argument for their families, I can accept part of it.
no,
but I can't.
mean, it's like we talked about.
I can't accept the sense of urgency
around
for
that,
selfish.
and yet nothing else. And it's the same, like you were talking about the treatment, the way that a lot of these people have been treated when they've been arrested versus how others have been treated. And
Right.
I think a lot of people misunderstand. We're not calling for violence against these perpetrators. We're calling for equal treatment for people regardless of their race or their religious background or whatever it may be. Like, people like George Floyd don't deserve to die in police custody for any reason. These people, committed atrocities and don't deserve to die in police custody because of that. Like, that's not the answer. The answer is stop doing that shit. Like, and telling us that it's not happening. Telling us that what we see is not real. That it's some, mythical thing that the media is portraying to get us all, this is just more wokeism. If black people would just show respect for police officers when they're getting arrested, then this wouldn't happen.
I would say since Trump got elected, and I've said this numerous times here on this podcast, that something happened with the temperature of this country, and I wasn't really sure what it was, and I have to manage how I respond to these instances of crazy happening. I haven't figured it out yet.
You haven't figured out like what happened or what?
I don't know how to. I'm starting to lose a sense of like I'm losing my bearings. Right, that's the best way I can say, because where you should feel safe, you're no longer safe. Where you should be able to walk with less of a guard, that's no longer true. The concerns that, I'm worried about my kids. They're adults. My daughter is barely an adult, but my sense of
nonetheless.
But an adult.
Don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Chris is barely an adult.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to lose my
the same T-shirt as me.
Yeah, I know. You guys are like
I wore
twinsies.
it first. Hey, actually, that's a perfect example of white privilege right there. He's wearing what I'm wearing, and he's trying to blame it on me.
Fair.
I'm just saying I'm losing my bearings on how to respond. Like, I'm not shocked anymore. I'm not shocked.
Trump's presidency empowered people to vocalize very ignorant thoughts.
Did he empower them?
In that.
Did he empower them, or did it just?
I believe he did.
He made them feel more comfortable, I think.
I'm actually not believing that anymore. I think the media coverage of Trump made it more acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of it.
A heavy part of it.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, it's where we're still at in a lot of cases right now. Like, not that I think he would just go away. And again, this is not like stop talking about it and it'll just disappear. But
I wish he'd die.
And
he's one hamburger away, man. Don't worry.
No, I'm being this is the dark part of the podcast. But
even if he were to pass away, he would still be a martyr to those people. I mean, look what they did to the Punisher symbol. They corrupt things that used to have good meaning.
I saw one just yesterday on a Jeep, and I literally kid you not, I cringed a little bit.
Yeah.
And I saw I'm thinking like, oh, that's like got to be the biggest hillbilly driving that Jeep. It was a girl, and I'm thinking like, yeah, you totally just ruined that whole symbol for me altogether. The American flag. When I see the American flag now, you know what I think of?
Do you conflict it?
I think of the Nazi flag. The first symbol that comes to my mind when I see the American flag is a Nazi symbol.
So you think American flag is a new Nazi?
I'm not.
Point?
I don't know, but that's my Rorschach test.
But this is something that I've struggled with too. It's like these symbols. We talked about this before when we talked about the new Punisher logo. That it's like these symbols are being co-opted and corrupted.
Yeah.
And not that the American flag was ever this like mystical thing, but I think there was some semblance of pride that most people, could have with it. And if you had your opinions on it that weren't that's totally fine. But now it's this belief that well, if you don't love the flag, then you're not an American. And it's like, okay, well, I may like the fact that I live in America. I may have aspirations for what I want this country to be, but I certainly don't think that we're there yet. Like,
yeah.
Well, I'll just say
that's the American dream. You always want to have the desire to work towards a better future, and I think we all have lost sight of that completely.
That American dream is not for everybody. Not everybody was the 3/5 of a person that dream did not apply to them. And I'm not trying to get it to.
Before we get too far from the topic of symbolism, so it's even I myself am getting some like lashback. So I literally made a video talking about socks. Like somebody posted a video saying their favorite socks have Batman symbols on them, and I was like, oh hey, I have socks with the Punisher logo on them, and all I said was, hey, I'm just going to show this off real quick, but I know how some people may get enraged by seeing this, but this is about the comic book character, and the first comment was a guy ranting about there's nothing wrong with that symbol, you just being a pussy, that you can't stand up for what's right. And I was like, and he just haunted, he kind of like dogged me for the next few next few TikTok videos, just consistently saying how you're not being a man, you just stand up for, the Punisher was never about that, but, yada yada. And so I didn't engage him. I said, okay, but I have a video for you. I'll work a video for you. And he's like, you're just going to show me a bunch of clip art about different symbols on it and say how I'm wrong. And I'm like, dude, you're literally arguing yourself here. I didn't say a damn thing to you. So I'm going to make him a very nice 3-minute video explaining the history of the Punisher symbol and how it's being, corrupted today. And he's going to get mad, and I'm going to feel good about that.
My parents served in I have family members that served in a lot of wars in this country. I used to, like, religiously, football game at my house, if the national anthem came up, I stood up.
Were you holding apple pie while you did it?
No, but you get my point, right?
Yes.
My wife would be like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, it's a national anthem, and this is my country.
And there's still people like that.
I no longer do that anymore. I refuse to stand for the anthem. I refuse to, like, when I think of the American flag, I think of the first symbol that comes to my mind is a Nazi symbol. The second thought that comes to my mind is a Confederate flag. I no longer associate the American flag, like, subconsciously and consciously. I'm just like, ugh. Right?
It depends on its context a lot of the times for me personally. I mean, I totally understand what you're saying. If I see it, like, flying at the McDonald's, right, I don't take it that way. But
I do.
But, like, today I was at the beach and I look over and there's an American flag flying and I'm like, oh. And then right next to it is a "Let's Go Brandon" flag. And I'm like, why do those two things always have to be together? It's like the American flags with the blue line where it's all black and white in the blue line. And it's like,
I saw the Jeep Wagoneer, the $100,000 one.
yeah.
You know the emblem they have on it? They've got a reverse American flag on it.
Is that on the window?
It's actually on the bottom door. Bottom of the door.
I've seen a lot of the reverse American flags lately.
I don't know if that was custom or if it came like that.
Because I see a lot of the Toyota Tacomas that have that on the side, the rear side mirror. Or not Tacomas, but the 4Runners. On the rear, not mirror, but the rear windows.
Okay, so maybe that's just like something that
it's a whole thing. Like it's this whole it's like its own culture now of we're hardcore because we love America.
Sorry, I just looked it up. That is a factory installation. They did that.
Really?
Jeep that comes standard. That flag is on their standard.
Wow.
Because you type it up and people are asking why is the American flag backwards on the Jeep Wagoneer.
Anyway,
I don't get the whole backwards flag thing. I know this is not like really the point of this conversation here, but just like the whole
Jeep's official stance said that we're simply moving forward. That's their reply to that.
What does that
mean? Yeah, okay. Well, the American flag, I don't see it as like for the states anymore. I don't feel like this country. I mean, we're not one more incident away from numbness when it comes to these, like, problems. I think we're already there.
I think we're well past that, honestly. I mean, like, how many more times do we have to have the world's deadliest mass shooting occur? Or have groups.
Why does everyone top the last one, right?
Right, and why is it that we have to have now? It's like specific groups that are being targeted. Not that it hasn't happened in the past, but that seems to be more and more common now.
By the way, Chris, to answer your question,
Yeah.
I believed I knew it, but I wanted to fact check it before I said anything.
Yeah.
But I was correct. The reverse American flag is a tribute to the U.S. Army personnel deployed overseas.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, because I know a lot of them, like the red line, the blue line,
Yeah.
the yellow line, white line, all those. But when I remember we had one or two of those on the fire truck. So I remember it was commonplace in the fire department. If you hire someone who was a veteran, they put that on the window, just kind of respect to that.
But
So,
we don't even respect it anymore. That's the problem, right? We don't respect the flag. The flag has become a symbol.
We
and
should
a sub-
sensationalize it. We
and
make
a
it sound
subculture.
like a trend, something fun to do, kind of like donating $1 at McDonald's to homeless kids. But when it comes down to it, there's not really any legislation really helping them.
I don't
It's
need
kind of-
like that's the problem. I don't need legislation to I'm like sorry that kid. Somebody should just off that kid in the parking lot. He doesn't need a trial. I'm being serious, man.
No, I'm sorry. You were saying Nazi and everything. I'm thinking the Gestapo take him back
Kyle
in the car.
Wittenhouse. I remember his name now. Like somebody should off that kid too. I'm just being honest. Like we're letting these cancers become heroes.
Yeah, and they get their time to shine to say what they have to say in court,
Well,
and that
and
makes other versions of them.
That
Kyle
was the thing that
Rittenhouse,
I was
whatever.
getting ready to point out is that I think in a lot of cases the reason this guy had a 180-page manifesto that he put together, whether it was copy or pasted or however constructed, is because he knows that that's going to get attention. He knows that when it comes to the media coverage, that's what they're going to talk about, and so it's a like a call to action for other people. It's a way for him to gain more notoriety as he goes through this remaining process.
So the hypocrisy is that they don't say his name in media coverage, but they Kyle Rittenhouse, whatever his last name is, his name was plastered all over the place. This guy's like a little mini celebrity in the racist circles. So my point is this: the country's racist. I don't care where you are on the political spectrum. You got to acknowledge the country's racist. You don't want to see anybody that doesn't look like you do better for themselves. Nobody, and the truth of the matter is, nobody wants to take anything from you. They just want the opportunity. And if you really believed half the crap you were saying, you wouldn't care because you're the best at what you do.
Yeah.
You don't have to take people off the board to be the best at what you do.
But that's just
No, seriously.
no, I know, but I'm just saying, deep down inside, they know that that's not true about themselves. They know that they're not the best. They know that they need white privilege, or whatever you want to call it, the leg up that they have in order to have even whatever it is that they may not be happy with what they have, but that, God forbid, somebody take that away from them, right? Now
They're
I have
not
to live.
taking away from you. You're just
No,
not
I know,
doing your
but
job well enough.
But I'm saying, taking away the privilege, the leg up that they have.
Yeah, Chris is talking about people who are born into a springboard, where they can just kind of become adult and then they have really good job with good pay, versus someone who has to.
But that's not even true
learn
though. That's the thing I get frustrated with. The narrative is that's not true. So you may have an advantage, but you have to earn your spot. So that's the part that when you say white privilege, I disagree with. No, they may have an advantage of not having to remove 4 to 20 or 30 barriers to get where they're trying to go. They still have to earn their spot.
I think that's what we're trying to say.
No, that's not what you're saying. You're saying it to where it's not a given that they are successful, that this group of people are successful. And I'm not trying to say you specific. I'm saying that narrative means that they've got an easier path. They may not have they have an easier path at some level because they don't have to carry the extra stigma with them to get where they're going. But they still have to they have to earn their spot.
To an extent, yeah, but I think the point, I guess, from my perspective, the way I see it is look at Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, right? She had to be the best of the best of the best
all day,
all day long to be even in a position to be nominated, and they still took every freaking shot that they could at her. to try and knock her down.
That proves my point. So white privilege, in my opinion, does not negate the fact that you have to be good at your job, right? We're asking, non-white people are probably asking for, just remove the barriers. Let me do what I can do, and if I fail, like, just because, then that's fine.
Right.
But don't make it harder for me.
Yes.
And so,
I think that's okay. So I think that is how I view white privilege as well. Like when I say white privilege, that's exactly what I mean. Is it's the lack of additional barriers that you have to get through in order to be successful.
Right. Nobody's taking anything away from anybody. Like if you're a
two sides,
if you're a GOP type of person, if you believe the myth of work hard, blah 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 blah, American dream, right?
Yeah.
If you really truly believe that, nobody's ever going to take anything from you. They are just better than you are.
But I don't know that they really do believe that.
And that could be true. But my point is, if that's their public ideology. That's what they put on their brochure.
But that's again, I think like it comes back to this. Part of the underlying issue is that these people say one thing, knowing full well that it's not what they actually believe.
And I do not disagree, but I'm saying the replacement.
They're keeping to a script.
Yeah.
But if you believe the replacement theory garbage, right?
Yeah.
Then the other thing about your platform, your political party, can't be true.
Right.
You cannot say that America is a land of opportunity, except for some people, because they're trying to take it away. They're trying to take away your opportunity.
Yeah.
No, if you believe that America is a land of opportunity, that means you've got to be better than the next person. They're not coming to replace you. They're just better than you.
Yeah. Well, and I think some people see it as more competition, right? Like, now I have to be better than these people too, without them having the barriers to prevent them from being on my level.
So, go back to my first question.
No, I mean, I'm saying the same thing over and over again. So
your platform can't be that this is the land of opportunity if you work hard and you follow the rules. Like, it can't be that platform if you're worried about people taking something away from you. Like, both things cannot be true. So that's why I think the GOP,
but they might make it illegal to be white in this country, Andre.
Sorry. Oh man.
That's but that's my frustration. It's like you can't, like, I don't see how people that of average intelligence or even some intelligence can't see through the BS with what that party says they believe in, what they practice.
I don't know. I mean, I think if people were more honest with themselves about that, the GOP would have fallen decades ago.
Sure. Probably not, because what made me not want to be a Republican anymore was Donald Trump.
Yeah. But I think, I mean, don't you feel like there were elements of this that were always kind of there, that in a way, like, Trump gave them
No, because they never really personally affected me. I live in the suburbs.
Yeah.
I've been gainfully employed or I live comfortably, right? So those other issues don't necessarily affect me on a day-to-day, right? I have the ability to help people that were trying to, to make their lives better. So those things ring true, right? The rest of it, social issues, I can be hit or miss on.
Right.
So, and I think that is an honest assessment of myself, where it's like, I don't buy into all of that, but a vast majority of it can be true at the same time. That's where I think a lot of people may or may not, or that's where they're at. They're not affected by these things on the day-to-day. Yeah. They live a comfortable life. They're able to, they genuinely do things to help other people to make their lives better. They are employers, or they're in a position at their jobs where they can help people to move up. Right? So
but don't you think, I mean, I don't know, it's like, I feel like in my experience, I've run into not the same number, but a surprising number of people who aren't interested in helping other people, who are really in it just for themselves, right? Like,
and that's fine. Like, I don't want to change the rules of the playground.
No, but I don't know.
But because if you believe in what the GOP like hawks, like at auction, right? It's about, to pull yourself up from the bootstrap. And like, if you listen to Tim Scott speak, right? Mm-hmm. He talks about people that were willing to help him to get an opportunity. I don't disagree with him on that. So the people that believe the core tenets of what the GOP says they're about, they're probably not bad people.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you're saying that. I'm saying that that's the difference. Then you get into the Trump years, and then it's something completely different.
So then,
and even in the prior, you're probably ignoring the racism. You're probably ignoring the, the suppression of other people's opinions and blah blah blah. Because what you're doing is working for you and your family, and you're seeing a positive impact. So that's all. Like, just in my opinion.
But I guess then I'm still trying to figure out, to some degree, like, why it is that the GOP still goes along with it. Like,
because now they're scrambling for votes. Because
why?
Because the pandemic happened.
Okay. But even before that, right? I mean, 2016,
I don't think
when he won the nomination, it seemed like a lot of people just kind of got on board with that.
No, I still believe a lot of people just didn't like Hillary Clinton.
But then wouldn't that have made more sense? I mean, because don't you feel like by the time we got to the 2018 midterms that there were a lot more like, Trump's picking this person, they're getting the nomination, Trump's picking that person.
Nope, that goes back to, if you look at all the maps of those places where they kind of got that control, mm-hmm. It's all gerrymandering. So the chessboard is kind of complicated, unfortunately, right? Some things hold true with the whole Trump endorsement. That's not really true.
No, I mean, it's not. He's not a kingmaker like they like to make him out to be. I understand that. And
it's a vast majority of that is gerrymandering.
Yes.
So Madison Cawthorn is the proof of that.
Yes.
Right?
Although it took an awful lot for him to lose by very little.
Sure.
I mean, like, I think, and I don't know. I struggle with a lot of it because I want to believe that people are inherently, not even like inherently good, but that like they're, I mean, that they actually understand the benefits and like consequences of their decisions, both for themselves and for other people.
Well, one thing I learned a long time ago, and I really believe, if you give a person the opportunity to do something that benefits others and to do something selfish,
they're going to choose the selfish thing.
They're going to choose the selfish one, no matter how good of a person they are on the offset.
Does this
on the onset
relate in some ways, or maybe in a lot of ways, to the evangelical push on the GOP side as well? This, holier than thou, but really behind the scenes, like, I'm getting more abortions than anybody, and I'm funneling money from my church into my own pocket, and...
Well, I believe that Americans go to church to feel better about the current state of their life.
Sure. But again, like, I go once a week. I go on Sunday, I go to church, yes. And then the rest of the week I get to do whatever the hell I want, because then the next week I'm going back to church on Sunday, and by walking through that door, I am absolved of all of the sins that I just committed.
They're not absolved from all sins, but they see
I think that's the truth for some people personally.
They see at least 100 people that are in their inner circle, or they know somebody that's in their inner circle that can sign off on the fact that, Billy went to church that weekend.
And I get that. And I'm not saying that is, just to clarify, Joe, like, I'm not saying that's what church actually does, but I'm saying, like, that's their belief in a lot of cases, is it's like, by going to church, like, and maybe it is, like, maybe it's more about the appearance of things, right? Like, oh, I go to church, so I must be a good person. That's what everybody else is going to think, regardless of what I do the other 6 days of the week.
it's like for some people, it's a social contract.
Yeah.
I need to go to church to maintain my fellowship with these people because these people can provide this for me.
Or if I want to run for office ever, then I better be. I need to go to some church, right? Like on both sides. That's not.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, so. Let's not get it twisted. Like your faith, and I try not to comment on people's faiths, but I can say as a general perception that Americans use church, they use their faith to justify to justify their actions and to feel better about what they're doing.
Yeah,
has nothing to do with their true faith, and I just accept that as being that's baked into the equation. When somebody tells me they're a Christian, that isn't. I mean, they can still be an asshole.
Well, and why tell you I'm a Christian?
I don't need you
when I can show you, right?
Yeah, I don't need you to tell me.
It's flashing their badge.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
Yes.
And I do want to be clear. Like I was speaking specifically about like the evangelical church,
Yes, but I'm.
But I understand what you're saying. It's much more general than that. It's not.
Yeah, it's not just the evangelicals. It's like
Chris making a joint statement to me and the church I go to.
No, but it's not.
Yeah. But I would tell.
I don't know anything about the church you go to, Joe.
I'll be honest and say this. I have a hard time going to an institution that I feel does not represent the faith it professes.
Yes. That has been my struggle with it as well. I mean, and
I have a hard time now that I go to a fairly large church in my county, in my area, because I want them to get rid of all the fake people if they're there. Like, it has nothing to do with my faith and what I believe. It just means that I don't want to be associated with that. I think it's wrong. So my church had like a tremendous attendance drop because of their views on same-sex relationships, which I believe their view is very biblical. It made me challenge and look into my own views on it. Well, they're right. I was wrong. I didn't stop going to my church, but there are countless people saying, "No, this is wrong. I don't believe that." I'm like, well, I'd rather them get to that point where they say, "This is not biblical. This is why, and this is what we're going to do as a community." Now you can leave or stay. I'm down with that. And I think that we've got to stop as a society, as a country, as people, not being okay with those uncomfortable, honest conversations. And I think that, again, with Buffalo, we're going through it again.
Yeah.
We do the same thing over and over again. The resulting conversation is thoughts and prayers. Nothing changes. Right or left.
Rinse and repeat.
Do nothing. Yeah, you want people to tribe around you and support you and pat you in the back for doing all these, crazy things. Roe versus Wade, same thing. You've had countless chances to, not just at the federal level, but at the state level, to make it right. And it doesn't, just because you're acknowledging the statewide or national consensus has nothing to do with your personal beliefs. Right? You don't have to be you don't have to necessarily think that abortion is a form of birth control, 5 and 6 and 7 abortions. But you can understand a person's individual choice. Yeah. But the thing that we've yet to have a conversation about is, why is this happening? Yeah. You don't have to acknowledge the fact that this idiot, racist piece of shit that killed 10 people should have died in the parking lot. But we're not addressing the fact that we've romanticized mental health. We continue to think this gun thing is just optional because this is another person with an AR-15. How many AR-15s are we going to have with bump stocks that kill countless people before we realize maybe we should stop this and nip it at the bud? How many times is that going to happen? How many times are we going to have to sit back and watch, innocent people, a group of people that are like I don't like the word, I don't like to call Jewish people minorities. I don't like to call black people Asians. I don't like to call them minorities, but people that just don't We don't count in this country. How many times do we have to kill them before we say, hey, you know what? Maybe we need to get tougher about these, like as a state or as a city, as a county, on like discrimination laws and hate crimes. I don't need the federal government to do that. But I bet you $20, if you say you committed a hate crime and it's found to be a hate crime, you get the chair, you're dead, people will stop committing hate crimes. Doesn't fix the root cause. The root cause is like, generational racism.
Yeah.
It's just being bigoted and a hateful person. You can't fix your hate, but I can give you guidelines and boundaries, like societal boundaries that say, if you do this is what will happen to you. We only did that as a country during the Civil War. And you know why we did that? Was because there was economic ramifications.
Gotta save the economy.
Not because we really as a country wanted to end slavery, but because there are economic ramifications.
And then we did a really good job following through with our promises on what we said was going to happen after
jack
slavery.
That all up. So, and I don't...
Take a deep breath.
I don't have a solve for a lot of things that I present, but I do think that part of the solution is the determination to actually start to address some of the issues. We may not even solve them, but at least we can get them on the table. Like, CRT is not your enemy, obviously, right? Because think about it, critical race theory, how does that solve this kid killing 10 people? It doesn't. But the acknowledgement of why people are responding to this like theoretical replacement theory, and it's actually started in France, if I remember correctly, where they have a high immigration rate, and French people were feeling like, oh, they're going to replace all the French people. Nobody wants France. So, but why do you? Yeah, but why do you feel threatened by that? Those are questions that nobody's willing to ask. The only thing that people focus on, especially like journalists, is like the grievances. That's what they focus on. They focus on the grievance as to
that's what sells.
The validity of the grievance. We talked about this with coal, right? Their grievances, it's actually legit. There's no jobs,
right?
Or jobs are going away. What do we do to fix that? How do we help that state to implement or to put jobs in place to help people to fucking eat?
Yeah. So that they don't look at coal as the only solution.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. We only talk about grievances. We only talk about what they're losing. And as long as we always talk about what people are losing, we'll stagnate.
It's a zero-sum game,
Yep.
That's the way that it's looked at. I think that's why people are so terrified of the things that they're losing, or that not even things that they're losing. It's other people getting stuff. Whether it's the same opportunity that they have with fewer barriers. Then that means that I'm not getting something, right? I'm losing something because somebody else is gaining something.
They both cannot be true. That's the problem.
Yeah.
In that instance, like white privilege, and I'm not trying to like bash anybody. Like, look at what's causing that though, right?
Yeah.
Like, I do believe that somebody that has built that much hate, there is a reason why they built that much hate.
Yep.
And until we start asking like genuine questions of discovery to find out and understand, not to excuse, then the problem's just going to keep being a problem. How is it possible that an 18-year-old has that's his weekend project? How to assassinate and murder people.
How could he afford the gun and all the ammo? That's the other thing. Like
that.
Isn't that a testament to American dream? Be able to buy your own weapons.
I don't even want to talk about this Second Amendment.
I was gonna say. I've been to plenty of knife and gun shows where you can just buy a pistol for $50. You have no paperwork. Just here, boy, you want it? Is your right? And this is the South United States.
That's not a right.
Hey, I'm just telling. That's the rhetoric
Right.
and beliefs people hold, and that's how they justify the choices they make.
Yep.
If people were smart, and if Roe v. Wade and what's the other case? No, I can't remember.
Casey versus Planned Parenthood.
Yeah. If people want to like try to nitpick like Supreme Court rulings, they should really nitpick the Second Amendment rulings.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's so many flaws. And if you exclude the NRA and whatever other like lobbies for guns that they're out there,
I mean, the vast majority of Americans want sensible gun legislation, like sensible gun laws. The vast majority of Americans want some access to abortion and to general access to abortion in most cases, or in some cases at least.
but our elected class says we're not smart enough to decide for ourselves.
Yep. And that's where we
Anyway.
Even though we're the most highly educated generation in American history.
Yeah.
Sure, but globally we're like a bunch of idiots.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Like,
we're dumb as fuck.
Yeah, there are countries that like surpass us without even like, taking a breath.
Without
But anyway,
trying, yeah.
Yep.
I'm not going to send
hug.
thoughts and prayers to Buffalo. I want people to figure out a way to take an action. What can we do to ensure that we find a solution from the bottom up? Because I don't believe our politicians have the incentive to find something that works for everybody on a state and or a federal level. And I'm not, yeah, sure. I think that, that kid, he killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
There's no, you don't need a trial for that. But I know he deserves a trial by our
He's going
laws.
to get his due process, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't like the fact the DA said that he's innocent until proven guilty. I get it. He just shouldn't have said that in public.
Yeah.
Because if you want to get the public not to trust what's going to be the outcome, that's how you do it. If this guy gets freaking sent to a criminal insane asylum, God help us all.
And that's not where he should be, because the manifesto alone proves that that was well thought out before he even took action. So,
Well,
I think this
thank you
podcast
for
is a big group hug.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us. I know this is a heavy subject, but these are, I was talking to Chris earlier, and I was like, I want to talk about it because, I've got some things in my head where I'm like, well, it sucks, but it keeps happening at the same time. So that's what's wrong. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with us. I know it's a heavy topic. You can always find us if you're watching this on YouTube. Please hit the subscribe button and click that notification bell. We'd really appreciate it. You can find more of our content on chrisandandreshow.com. We are on all the places where you get your podcasts, and we are moving all of our primary hosting to fireside.fm. This is not a commercial, but riverside.fm is where we do all of our recording. It's a great service. We really enjoy it. They do not pay us to say that.
Yet.
But they could.
No, they probably won't. You can always send us comments at chrisandandreshow.com. I'm Andre, chrisandandreshow.com.
I'm Chris at chrisandandreshow.com. And Joe
And I'm
is
Fireside Joe.
on TikTok.
Today I'm Marvelous Joe, and I'm on TikTok. Find me. Good luck.
Find me.
Find me, just look for me. Stalk me on the TikToks.
Please do. I need a couple of stalkers to get my confidence up.
So go like his
Gotta
Punisher
rebuild my-
video.
Yeah.
That's Punisher
So
socks.
we love when people hang out with us. We do this every week. We have a conversation because it's great. When they get published, I still don't know.
Just know every
Sorry.
week we're not this depressed.
It's not.
I mean,
a lot of heavy stuff this week.
It was heavy, and usually it's not. Like, we talk about a lot of movies, we talk about sports, we'll talk about business, but we try to talk about the things that ultimately impact our lives, you know, like one way or the other. And this week, unfortunately, it was this, you know, like, I mean, this, I think, it seems, based on our conversation, had a direct impact on all of our lives. And one way that we try to get better is by talking it out. And so you guys are,
just a quick
lucky
shout
enough
out
to hear it.
To whoever watches this podcast and thought it was a great idea to send me clown videos on TikTok. Thank you.
Oh, my God.
I like that energy. Just put a name on your profile so I can say who you are. Because I love that.
That's brilliant.
I don't know what just happened there, but we're super glad you joined us, and we'll talk to you next time.
Hey guys, it's Chris from the Chris and Andre Show here. Just wanted to say thanks for checking out our show. We hope you enjoyed it. If you would, subscribe, like, make sure to hit the notification bell so you get alerts when we post new videos, and leave a comment with your favorite part of the most recent episode that you watched. We'll see you on the next one.